r/ask Reddit. What scam can you still not believe you fell for? In 4th grade, someone convinced me to give them the brownie from my lunch in order to join the Pen 15 club. This is about scams, not murders. Guy at the gas station said he and his cancer-ridden wife broke down a mile up the highway. Needed $10 to get them gas for a 30-mile trip to the city. I just got paid, was feeling rich, so I gave it to him. Went to the same gas station 2 days later and the guy was there again with the same problem. Happened to me in Costa Rica. A French guy comes over panicked and says, "Do you speak English?" French. Me. Yep. What happened, Frenchie? I was robbed and lost all my clothes, wallet, passport, everything. I need to get the embassy but have no money. Can you help me buy a ticket? I was backpacking and spending less than $20 a day, but felt the need to help. So I give him $10. We part ways. About 2 weeks later I come back from a trek, and here's again with the same act. I was gonna deck him. And I say, "Oh no, seriously?" Letting him interpret it as sympathy. Then I say, "It happened to you again." And he does the fastest fade away I've ever seen in my life. Literally turns the corner and disappears. In Lego Universe, a guy told me he'd show me a cool glitch for 10,000 coins. I was young and stupid. Bastard took the money and ran. Someone tried this on me in RuneScape. He said he'd double any money I gave to him. Obviously a scam, but I decided to humor him because I was quitting the game anyway. I gave him 20k. He gave me back 40k and then told me to do a higher amount since I could trust him now. I logged off. This was the pro strat. You had to engage in a game of chicken with the scammer. Sometimes you'd get a decent payout. Best is when they would plead for you to continue playing further. My older sisters told me eggs grew on trees. I vehemently disagreed. They made me plant an egg yolk. I came back later to check, and a stem had grown. Later, leaves showed up. I started to believe. I came back again and they had put plastic Easter eggs filled with candy on the tree. Oh, that's actually very sweet. Got a call saying there was something wrong with my internet service. I downloaded the spyware that allowed the person on the phone to remotely control my computer. I became too suspicious when they wanted me to log into my bank account. Reset that beach to factory settings and felt shame I'd let it get that far. Don't feel bad. The scam works on a lot of people. They know the message that something is wrong with their computer makes people freak out and they try to seem like a normal help desk. I called them once but got suspicious when the guy wanted to access my computer. I work in IT and we constantly get calls from people who get those pop-up warnings in their browser about calling a number because their computer is infected, blah blah blah, we are from Microsoft, etc. People always think that they've got a virus from one of those and start freaking out because that usually freezes up the browser and you have to use the task manager to close it. Habbo Hotel 15 plus years ago. Through giveaways and smart trading, 11 or 12-year-old me had accumulated several pieces of furniture. Some guy told me he could double my furniture if I gave him my password. Being an idiot kid in a less internet savvy time, I gave him my info. He took all my stuff and told me I was a retard. I was utterly crushed that I fell for it. I felt like a complete idiot for days afterwards. Obviously not a big scam or anything, but little kid me learned a big lesson about learning to apply doubt to weird claims or to good to be true promises. The same thing happened to me, and then one time I see the same guy trying to scam another player, so I PM them to warn them. Scammer guy proceeds to hack me, somehow clone my character and talk shit to the people in my friend list. Then the Dutch version opened so I moved to there. Run into him again, he was Dutch like me. I still remember his screen name. Duck-you. OIO. I was only 9 years old. Also the mods never did anything. Duck-you. Habbo Hotel. I got pulled into an Amway meeting. When I was in college I was working as a waiter at a Pizza Hut, and a customer came in and struck up a conversation. Eventually he pitched me on a possible new job. He described it as kind of like an internship. The first red flag should have been he wouldn't give me any specifics other than something about running a business. Next he gave me a date address of where to meet and he told me to dress in a suit. That also seemed weird since we were meeting at 7 PM. Who interviews at 7 PM? Anyway, I get there, and about 100 other people are there. I was getting a weird vibe and I should have run at that point. but I was desperate for something other than waiting tables. After an hour of parading different motivational speakers, they finally announced they sold Amway to achieve their goals. I then went home older, wise, and destined to serve pizza for many more months. Trimming armor, doubling money, aka RuneScape scams. I never fell for those super obvious ones, but I fell for one of those wow you have an expensive weapon. Let me make a video of myself killing you in the wilderness as part of a montage. I'll pay you. You don't even need to skull yourself. Your item can stay protected. Then they drop 4 noted items on the ground that the game thinks is higher valued, but the market values at like 20x cheaper. They land the killing blow right after you pick it up. You lose the actually expensive item and keep 3 or 4 of the inexpensive ones. That's hilariously smart though. Back in the late 80s early 90s there was an alien autopsy show on Fox, hosted by Jonathan Frakes, Star Trek's Commander Riker. I was a true believer. I thought for a long time it was a real documentary. Do you remember when the National Geographic Channel did that special on mermaids? Good god, I thought for sure it was real because that channel wouldn't spread lies and propaganda. Oops. Couple of my friends teach high school, science of some sort and history if I recall correctly, and they hate those shows, and celebrity morons like Kyrie Flat Earth Irving, because many students fall for that shit, and they have to spend half of several class periods explaining that, no, mermaids are not real. It was a crummy show that wasn't even close to being believable unless you're a gullible moron. I gave half my night's tip money to a woman who said her car broke down and she had to go pick her kids up from daycare. I believed her because she was standing in front of a car getting towed. I told someone about it later and they described her to a T and said, yay, that's Kimbo. You just bought her a week's worth of crack. I've met like 6 people since then that she's done the same thing to. It is okay, lad. No need to feel down or angry about it. You had the right intentions at heart. It ain't your fault she deuced on your kindness. You are good at heart and that is what matters. No matter how many blunders you make, so long as you never stop being kind, you will always come out on top. I love helping people and still do, but now I'm a lot more wary of people like that. Next time I'll offer to call a cab or Uber and pay for it. I'm not so much mad about the cash. I'm more upset that I helped someone who clearly has an addiction problem buy more drugs. When I was little, my grandma would take me to HR dentist for my regular cleanings. After the fluoride, she would tell me, now you're not allowed to have candy for a month because of the fluoride. She would get the dentist to agree with her. I believed this for a couple years until I mentioned how it's not fun having to wait a month to eat candy because of the dentist to my friends at school. I knew something wasn't right when I realized no one knew what I was talking about. I went home and told her I knew the no candy after the dentist wasn't true. Her response was, well, I'm surprised I got away with that for as long as I did. Hahaha, granny conned yo ass. I'll never forget when I was a teenager in the 90s. I received an email about having a family member overseas. I asked my mom if I did, lol. Cause the email said I was entitled to an inheritance. Something I have a minor involvement with at work sometimes involves tracking down relatives for inheritance. There is one American guy in particular we have been trying to transfer a large sum of money to for over a year now. Despite being in contact through various official means, he refuses to sign anything or give the details we need, as he has seemingly convinced himself it is a scam. He knows he has long lost British relatives but seems certain they were poor and that they would never leave him anything. Walked down the tunnel to DC Metro and approached a ticket machine to get my Metro fare card. Found a well-dressed lady confused by the machine, and not quite a full English speaker. Convinced me to buy her a ticket as she was to meet her daughter at office downtown. Finally bought her a damn ticket, and then she asked if the ticket was enough to get her back too. Gave her an extra $5 bucks as that's all I had other than large bills, and told her to be sure and have her daughter explain all this to her. Guess what? A few days later I went back to that same Metro spot, and she was in the process of scamming some other dude using the same story. I stood behind them until she played off the "will this get me back?" then busted her right there. She gave me an excellent cussing for someone who didn't know English. I felt like such a chump, ready for any hard luck story. There was a bloke on the train I sometimes call Sob Story Dominic. He would get on, loudly announce his name and tell everyone that he was just out of rehab and needed to get bus fare to go see his girlfriend and their newborn son. Then he would sit and sigh and look sullen until people gave him money. I gave him $10. Next day, same guy, same sob story. I was like, duck that guy. Timeshare. My 22-year-old self is ducking a hole. Financial herpes. Parents bought a timeshare, have enjoyed it through the years, but the kicker came when the Tease company wanted to switch everyone over to this new point system. You gain points faster than the old 1-week equivalent. Can't store points yearly, blah blah blah. What they don't tell you is you give back the deed you bought on to switch to the points, so you can no longer try to sell it. Parents tease in a sought after area, and the new system they can twice a year just do an assessment. Basically other people are not paying the maintenance fees, and they can bill you for the assessment. Don't pay the assessment or the maintenance fees, lose your timeshare and we attach it to your credit. Last I heard the Tease company was in a class action lawsuit. When I was a kid we were super poor, but the family wanted to take a vacation to Disney World. To save money my dad would stop at local gas stations and look for the ads for timeshares. Some of them advertised breakfasts for their tours. We'd show up to the super early tours of the timeshares and pretend to be interested in their trashiness, interiors and amenities, and as soon as we went back inside to sit down with the people who run the sales pitch, mom and dad would take turns keeping them talking while we raided their breakfast table and stuffed ourselves so we wouldn't need to spend much money on food inside the park. Sometimes they'd be a-holes and renege on their breakfast promotions and we'd just nope right out and go eat at a gas station though. I sold Cutco in college. Sad to say. This is the worst. They suck you dry of all your contacts and goodwill with family and friends and then drop you like a rock. Duck that company. Kickstarter project that didn't complete. Underwater breathing device that breaks the laws of physics. I played RuneScape when I was like 14 with this kid named Sparky every single day. He was my good friend and I trusted him. We chat and cut logs all the time. He asked to wear my party hat before lending was a thing. It was a green party hat worth around 20 million gold at the time. After knowing him for like 2 years, he logged off and I never saw him again. Green party hat gone. I was sad more that I lost my friend over a dumb in-game item. Dude, that was me. I'm so sorry. My parents took away my internet. Just give me your RuneScape password and I'll give it back. And your social. But seriously, screw that guy. That reminds of a great heist in EVE Online. A dude spent over a year intentionally befriending some top level players with top level ships just to use that trust to execute one of the biggest heists by a single player in EVE history by stealing their ships and some other stuff. One of the victims replied that he was just sad to lose a friendship over some spasipixels. Why does a Nigerian prince have a Queen's area code? Does he work at McDowell's? Middle-aged woman, clearly homeless and or on drugs, asked a family friend of mine for money for a bus pass. Our town hasn't had a bus system for like 6 months. Edit. Change city to town. I was up late-ish night writing this and didn't catch my word choice mistake. The real scam here is that your city has no public transport. I usually have bus tickets on me at all times. They come in 10 ticket packets that cost less per ticket than the standard fare. If someone asks for bus money, I give them one. If they legitimately need to get somewhere, I can spare the ticket, but there is no chance of me giving them money. I worked serving food at a country club. The management decided to prank my young, naive, wholesome self. Basically, my supervisor asked me to go inquire to the head chef about the state of the dingleberries. I assumed it was some type of fancy berry and did as asked. Head chef had me pass the message back to her that they were still too dirty and not ready yet. You can't imagine how I felt once I figured this out years later. Laugh at my pain, fellow Redditors. If that's the worst that happens to you in your life, you are in good shape, bud. Finally, my rage can hopefully be heard. I just left a career in mental health, was prowling for work that paid anywhere above $35,000 when all of a sudden John Doe from my high school a decade ago, who created and maintains a multi-million-dollar Japanese steakhouse, asks me to come to his house personally around 9 PM because we needed to catch up. Maybe work if you are interested. Ducking bam right? Here I am thinking, God, All my hard work was finally about to pay off, and here comes a what I thought would be MGMT position or something relevant, but no, it simply wasn't. This dream of job turned out to be a MLM scheme, and I knew it when I saw the casual pretzel bowl with like salsa dip and shit in the basement on the table, with a projector and a room full of people. I fell for the scam, which is why I hate MLM in the first place. You are supposed to target close people in your life and it makes for bad business. It wasn't anything major, but some guy called claiming to be from Microsoft asking questions about what my company does. Thankfully I played dumb anyways, cause I didn't think I was a person who should be sharing any info. But I still felt actually stupid when it became clear it was probably some competitor. It's not like I'm new to the business world. Ugh. Scammers suck. One called me. I went through to the operator. You can tell it's outsourced. I asked to be put on the do not call list. The reply: if you sing me a song. Dot. When I bought my vehicle, the sales guy convinced me to tack on a $3,000 warranty as if it was a necessity. A week after I bought it, something went wrong and I took it in only to find the warranty only covered a small amount of unlikely things to go wrong. I felt hacked, but I guess I should have read the fine print. When I went to move out of my apartment, the landlord gave me a long 2-page list of all the things I had to complete in order to get my deposit back. I worked hours on that list, rented a carpet cleaner, scrubbed the oven that I had maybe used twice, washed all the windows and blinds. Comes time to get the deposit back and the landlord says he lets his sister deal with that now. Contact her and she says she saw nail holes in the wall, something that was already there when I moved in. Couldn't convince her otherwise. That was almost 11 years ago and I'm still bitter. You can cancel warranties and get most of the money back. The apartment thing, if you had threatened legal action they probably would have given it back. When I was a preteen I went vegetarian. I ate a lot of green olives. One day, my father asks me if I knew what the little red bit in the olive was. I thought about it and asked pimento. Dad asks me if I knew what a pimento was. Nope. He proceeds to tell me it's a bit of fish in my olive. I effing believed him. It was the 90s. A spin through a volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica set me straight. I sold the centerpieces from my wedding to a woman from Craigslist. We agreed on $400 for 25 bouquets and vases, and she sent her daughter to meet me at the mall. When I got there, the daughter my mother only told me $200, so I called the mother and she said she was so sorry for the confusion but she would PayPal the rest. I trusted her and gave all the bouquets because I desperately wanted them out of my living room. Months went by of following up with the woman. I told myself I would never be rude, but after a few months my final voicemail to her was that I was very disappointed to realize it seems like this transaction might not happen. I will stop calling now. By month 5 my then husband revealed an affair and left. I couldn't afford rent on my own income and found a roommate and needed to scrape together what I could for the first last security. It was an extremely stressful time. One morning while I was fuming at the world for my frustrating circumstances, $200 showed up in my PayPal with a message that said, "I am sorry I couldn't get this to you sooner. Times were hard but I saved it up." I cried at the timing because $200 in that moment felt immense. Wholesome plot twist. The Good Feet store. I was working 16 hours days and my feet were killing me. Spent $800 at this store for a few pieces of hard plastic that could never have worked. This was about 5 years ago and I'm still pissed off about it. I had a friend that tried to get me to buy Good Feet crap. I went into the store and the Good Feet employee scolded me for walking around barefoot at home. Said I was going to ruin my feet by walking barefoot. I love being barefoot. I've never been so glad to turn down a sales lady. Not me, but a friend bought $20 of flour because a guy on the street told him it was cocaine. Lost $700 to a housing scammer. Back in May this year I inquired about a CL ad for a house for rent. It was a perfect match for me. Nice house, good neighborhood. Owner would let me have whatever pets I wanted without any fees. Should have realized it was too good to be true. Made the mistake of wiring them the deposit money without signing anything or meeting with anyone. The worst part is that I was being so careful the whole time, researching and verifying any information given to me, and I still made a stupid mistake that cost me money I couldn't afford to lose. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content bruh. It's free and that's a great price.